Hi, everybody. Now, officially welcome to today's live author reading. My name is Hala Alawi, and on behalf of Atmosphere Press, I am so pleased to welcome you to today's reading of new work from the press. We're going to be hearing from Marzia Pasini, author of Leonie's Leap, A Liberation Journey, released on June 3rd, and Sonja Koch, author of Bookends of Life, which is releasing on August 5th. Both authors' books can be purchased from online retailers and from select bookstores. Of course, you can also find the books on Atmosphere Press's website. That's at atmospherepress.com/books. And I'm also going to put direct links to both books in the chat so you can check those out easily right on our website. After both authors have read, we are going to have time for audience questions. So if you have a question for one or more of our authors, just type those in the chat and I'll make sure they get asked. We do ask that you stay muted for the duration of the event, but you can also use the chat for any praise and comments you'd like to share. One last note is that we at Atmosphere Press appreciate your support today and always. If you have a manuscript of your own, we would love to read it, so submit your work today to books@atmospherepress.com. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to support Marzia and Sonja. We're going to start off with our first reader, who for today is Marzia Pasini. For as long as she can remember, Marzia has been passionate about the adventure of self-discovery. After studying philosophy at the London School of Economics, she journeyed to the Middle East, where two life-threatening health crises sparked a transformative quest for freedom. During this time, a whisper called her to write, a voice ready to be heard. In her books, Marzia shares the magic of her inner adventures, inviting others to reconnect with their hearts and break free from fear. She has lived in diverse countries, including Jordan, Lebanon, Mexico, Colombia, Austria, and India, alongside her husband and children. She's also the author of the children's book, Satya and the Sun. But today we'll be hearing Marzia read from Leonie's Leap, which tells of the adventures of a 15-year-old orphaned acrobat who escapes a dreary life to join the circus as a trapeze artist. Just as the daring acrobat takes the bold plunge into the unknown, your inner exploration reveals the hidden wonders within. Marzia, take it away.
Thank you so much, Hala. Before I start reading today, I wanted to share a quick note on the book's structure. Here it is, because I wrote it in a very special format. Leonie's Leap is really a journey of consciousness. It's part novel and part soul guide to inner freedom. So you'll find that as I read, Leonie's story blends into these more reflective passages that read like letters to the heart and explore themes that matter most to the soul and invite you inward on a path of self-inquiry, discovery, and transformation. In these interludes, I address you, the reader, as dear heart, because I have found that the heart is really the center and it's what connects us all. All right, so today I'll be reading from chapter 6, and it's just lovely to be here with you, surrounded by all these beautiful trees. I'm in Italy, and I hope you can relax and enjoy and take this as a moment to yourself. Chapter 6, page 67. As the caravan headed towards its new destination, a town nestled in a valley between two mountains in northeastern Hungary, Leonie gaped at the lush Silesian plains rolling in front of him from a tiny lunette window in the elephant's compartment. A nomad at heart, the traveling circus had always sparked fantasies he had only dared to imagine from the porthole of his dorm. Hiding beside the gentle giants proved more exhilarating than he had anticipated. The elephants were the most stunning creatures he'd ever seen, possessing natural equanimity and a tenderness that was somewhat baffling. Under their thick skins, a softness exalted their power. With strength so deeply carved into their marrow, they were not ones to put on displays of toughness. Their slow, soothing breaths were a testament to the enduring legacy of their kind. the generations of courageous giants who had roamed the wild before them, with amber glowing eyes reflecting the wisdom of the sun, and ivory tusks chronicling the lineage of 1,000 warriors. Their memory of freedom remained untrammeled. It didn't matter if their legs were chained to the floor. Far from their homes, their ears fluttered gently, still heeding the ancestral call. Bizarrely, Leonie heard it too, the song of the wild beckoning him, the roar of the mountain lion reverberating. After all, the elephant's home had once been his refuge, their heritage his roots. As the steel bars blurred into a haze, dissolving into the vastness of the open plains, Leonie followed the elephants into the untamed. With each stride, his body melded into a saffron horizon, bound yet unchained. Dear heart, did you know that you were only ever made to be held, to be treasured? Can you see that what keeps you stuck is simply a peculiar figment of your imagination, perhaps a rigid interpretation of a reality that has never truly been able to trap you? Tell me, what are your prison bars made of? Do you tie liberation to desire, believing freedom must be earned? Or convince yourself you'll be free only when certain stars align? Maybe when you achieve success, love beckons you, or the system ceases to oppress you. Take a deep breath. Aren't the shackles that bind you but whims of your own creation? Dear heart, wherever you stand, freedom exists now. It can be a subtle shift in energy, the ability to view the same thing differently, or the capacity to attune to the ever-changing ebb and flow of life's rhythm. Once you realize you don't have to follow every thought, that you exist beyond the stories you tell, you step into spaciousness. Here, freedom reveals itself as your true nature, the awareness beneath your thoughts, the vastness beyond emotions, the openness of your radiant heart. Unveil it now, dear heart. Freedom isn't something to chase, it's what you already are. When the grand train rolled into town, the cheers of the crowd were electrifying. The arrival of the traveling circus was the year's most anticipated event, drawing people from near and far. Through the crescent-shaped window, Leonie spotted a lively throng of circus enthusiasts swarming around the incoming wagged carriages. Some paraded along the rail tracks, clanging pans with wooden sticks. Others galloped beside the wagons, their steeds adorned with resplendent ribbons. Amidst the clamor, the air hummed with the promise of the novel and the glory of the unknown. Though Leonie wasn't certain things would change, the shift was palpable. No longer a destitute orphan smuggled into an improbable circus. He felt like a revered monarch making a grand entrance in a golden carriage escorted by a legion of elephant warriors. When the train finally hissed to a halt, he witnessed it all, the wagons hauled to a dusty lot of open land, a crew of roistering men in black, tattered clothing erecting tent after tent like an army of worker ants. The low growls of the big cats, nervously awaiting meat slabs from their keepers. The lively banter of circus admirers seeking glimpses of the enclosed tigers. Bands of children scampering with clusters of balloons, leaving whimsical trails of sweetness tumbling from their pockets. You still alive? Isabel finally swung open the trailer door, flooding the dim interior with torchlight. On fire, he replied. You must be hungry, she smiled, offering a plate of lentils with rice. Oh, I completely forgot about food, he chuckled. I've been watching the tents rise. Just wait until you see the new act the chief planned with the acrobats, she said. What's it like? He asked. Treacherous, she warned. There's going to be no net. That's wild. More like insane, she conceded. We must trust in the invisible hand. What's that? Grace, she whispered. Grace, huh? I'd call that flirting with fate. She chuckled loudly. Would you like to see the rehearsal? Absolutely, he beamed. All right, she winked, giving one of the elephants a pat. But we'll still need to make you invisible. There's a secret perch on the fly tower above the arena. It's the perfect spot to watch the acrobats. When can I fly with them? He asked, excitement bubbling. Oh, it won't be long before I convince the chief. We'll just have to wait for the right moment, she grinned. Dear heart, have you ever wondered why some things come unbidden while others take time? There's this quiet grace, a wisdom in divine timing that often feels just out of reach. When what you hope for is delayed and what you resist persists, appears, take a breath. Instead of longing for what's missing, turn toward what's here. Grace is always near. For every wave that rolls back, another pushes forward. Even if blessings don't arrive in the exact form or timing you imagine, they will converge. True. Sometimes you might have to stay with the process longer to appreciate the outcome better. Persistence is key, and growth is the ultimate reward. Now, growth might not always feel positive and may not immediately resemble progress. Be patient anyway. The current may be gentle and quiet, yet it moves ever onward. Take time to understand what this detour or delay is bringing. Something deeper is always unfolding. One day, it will make sense. You'll see why life led you where it did, and you'll realize that what was meant for you could never escape. Yes, letting go of fixations can be challenging. It's common to assume things must happen on your own terms and according to your schedule. When expectations and reality diverge, it's natural to reach for control in the face of uncertainty. But the tighter you cling, the further you fall out of sync with the universe's rhythm. Life doesn't respond to force. It moves through attunement. Your task is to listen for the pauses, the patterns, the invitations. The art isn't sensing the magic, not mastering control. It's learning to move gracefully to the tempo set by the universe, realizing that trusting divine timing doesn't mean inaction or resignation. It involves creating through inspired action while allowing the universe to orchestrate the unfolding. It is in this delicate dance that life moves with the least resistance, and you step into flow. How is this done, you might ask? It isn't a doing, really. It's a frequency, an orientation of spirit. Achieving this balance is like floating on ocean waves, neither resisting the current nor succumbing to its sway. It's setting an intention with wholehearted commitment, then detaching from the outcome without neglecting it. It's being comfortable not knowing the answers, having clarity, or even understanding the way. At its core, it's knowing that you are held the entire way. Crouched in the gloom above the arena, Leonie watched the rehearsal spellbound. The spectacle was a celebration of artistry, each movement a brushstroke of bravery. The quintet of high-flying artists danced on the edge of possibility, twirling into a cerulean void with no net beneath them. Every muscle in his body ached to join them. Every heartbeat echoed his yearning to leap. When one acrobat released the trapeze, soaring into empty space only to be caught by another, the air seemed to hold its breath. There was nothing more electrifying to see. Each twist and turn in their breathtaking ballet stoked his desire to claim the sky. Now, he was certain of it. He belonged in that circus. All he wanted was to fly and be free. It was only a matter of time until the chief would come to his senses. Soon the truth would surface, and he would take his rightful place beside the acrobats. Somewhere, a sign would appear. A bell would ring, and someone would shout, "Go fly! Your time is now!" Or maybe it would come as a roar inside, a voice bellowing louder. "You've got this! Go for it!" And if indeed he dared to listen, would he have the courage to step into his truth and leap? Would he finally be ready to live it? Dear heart, truth is the compass that guides our deepest exploration. Our journey toward it is rooted in embodiment. But if truth is subjective, abstract, and at times elusive, How do we excavate it from within? How do you navigate the fog of fear, the blind alleys of conviction, the shadows of self-righteousness, or the mirages of fantasy to see things as they truly are and live with genuine empowerment? In the realm of language, truth takes many forms, but to the pure-hearted, it rings with clarity. Once you hear it, nothing dulls its call. Truth has its own vibe, a chime that can't be mimicked. It's not a conditioned belief or a polished opinion. It's a quiet song that resonates with the soul's deepest chords: honesty, authenticity, and humility. When you confront limiting beliefs and shatter falsehoods, you create space for truth to emerge naturally, and its vibration becomes unmistakable. But how? You might wonder. Do you embody truth amid the chaos? Although truth might not leave a conspicuous trail, it moves deep within you. Each moment, you have the power to discern your truth and wrap your heart around it. If you open yourself to it, truth will find you without you needing to chase it. This is because you harbor an intuitive compass that unerringly points toward it. In many ways, you already know what's true. You sense it innately, even though you may not yet be able to tune into it directly. The key lies in liberating this compass from the veils of conditioning that have made it rusty, so you can access your truth at any time, in any place. One way to unearth truth is to establish profound contact with your body. There is an entire constellation of wisdom alive within you. Thank you so much for being here and for listening and receiving this.
Thank you for reading, Marzia. There was so much just beautiful language just in that selection alone. So I really felt like all my senses were engaged, and it was just a great selection. Thank you so much. So our next reader for today is Sonja Koch. Surrounded by the things that matter, Sonja lives with her husband, horses, dogs, alpacas, cats, and guinea pigs on a 112-acre piece of paradise near Canada's capital. Her life is dedicated to animals, nature, the healing arts, and teaching. Her granddaughter is also quietly following in her footsteps. Today, we're going to be hearing Sonja read from Bookends of Life. Perfect for those seeking spiritual insight, personal growth, or simply a moment of beauty. Bookends of Life blends the mystical with the practical. It invites readers, whether they be witches, empaths, seekers, or poetry enthusiasts, to awaken their inherent wisdom and embrace life with renewed clarity. We'll hear more now from Sonja. Oh, Sonja, looks like you are still muted.
I think, okay, hello. I'm Sonja, and this is the book that I have published through Amazon Publishing, or Atmosphere Publishing, sorry. And I have basically written this book and had the input from my granddaughter with it. At the beginning, when I started first putting all my poetry together, I asked my granddaughter's father, what are you doing for Dallas when she is finished high school? And he said, oh, I haven't thought that far. And so I said, okay, so we are going to put the poems that I have already written over the years of my life and incorporate Dallas into that so that she has a little bit of a legacy. So that's how Bookends of Life actually was born, The Maiden and the Crone. Okay, I'm going to be reading from the beginning right now into the different chapters. Welcome, friends. Please draw close. Don't be shy. Come join us on a grand adventure. Shed those rags of ego and arrogance. Leave them over there in the corner. You can always pick them up when you leave, if you feel you still need them. Here, don this enchanting coat of honesty and modesty. See? It fits perfectly. Let's delve into a new world, a realm where we strip away the layers of defense, a domain where we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and sincere. Move still closer. Partake in the journey through the seasons of change as experienced by the maiden and the crone. Chapter 1 is all about innocence. Here we see the rebirth or the beginnings of idea and concept. The springtime and freshness of our lives or projects are laid out for inspection. Experience the newness with us and give your imagination free range. You've got this. Just because you've never done it before doesn't mean you don't know how to do it. Chapter 2 leads us to awakening. Let us celebrate our desires and passions, arise from the charcoal of concepts that are crumbled and crushed, step into our power, and reach a unique level of energy where we can just be. Chapter 3 introduces letting go. We have arrived at the juncture of release and liberation. An inward examination of personal growth now lies before us. Through all of this, we hold space for recognition and honor. Look closely, my friends. Here we sift through life's clutter. Chapter 4 allows for contemplation. Presently, we stand before the mirror of self-reflection. We'll slow down the heartbeat of time, just a little. We shall now rummage through our character and psyche, find out what's really there. At last, we can sit by the fireplace in our cozy kitchen and prepare for the cycle to begin again. Come now, take my hand, and we'll travel through the frontier of bookends of life. With the turn of every page, another layer of raw emotion will be exposed. Do not be frightened. Raw emotions are part of our basic needs. You are not alone in this adventure. We will be right there with you, every stride, every footfall, every step of the way. That little sparkle in your heart, that's us. The time has come. Let's away. A message from the maiden. I am not quite a teenager and just at the beginning of the great adventure called life. It makes me happy and a little bit scared to know I'll be still doing something unknown to me. But wise words from the crone tell me that life will be boring if I already know what will happen. I will enjoy the little things, find the magic, and let my spirit soar. Dallas. A message from the crone. Come walk with me through the forest in the moonlight. Join me at the campfire. Leave those unwanted stressors and pressures to conform and just be yourself. It takes a lifetime to become who you are meant to be. Start now by keeping your senses open and standing secure in your own power. You are never alone in this world, but you alone create your experiences and build your world. Take the time to create something beautiful. Sonja. Welcome to spring. As spring spreads herself across land and sea, bringing peace, love, and hope to you and to me, the lessons we learned on our long winter's rest will be put into action with vigor and zest. We'll hitch up the plow and prepare the soil. We'll seed and we'll till and then bale and then toil to make a good growth and then harvest too. The spring brings such hope for me and for you. Let me share my secret. I have a little secret between me, myself, and I. It's something very special. Makes me happy, makes me sigh. I will share this secret now for everyone to read. Deep inside myself I have all I'll ever need. It began with a yes. Everything without exception begins with a yes. A no stops us in our tracks, halts any forward progression, places a weight on progress, Yes, it all began with a yes. A simple little word with a world of potential. A simple little word with so much power it all became unstoppable. But with every empowerment that becomes too much, we do have a control, a method to override obsession, confusion, and abuse. It's a simple little word that has the ability to empower and control. This simple little word is no. The horses of the sun. From the silver steed to the black, the bay, to the golden and the dun, these are the living colors among the horses of the sun. From the whisper of the autumn wind to the laughter and the fun, these are the breathing forces among the horses of the sun. From the first dim light of morning to the setting of the sun, we speak the peaceful language among the horses of the sun. From the spirit of the movement to the tasks not yet begun, our lives and souls belong among the horses of the sun. This season I will become. Today I sat and watched the geese. They flew so high and free. I thought about the whole wide world and what it meant to me. The love, the peace, amidst the rush and stress of daily living, is there for all who choose to see the loving and the giving. Every season brings its own gifts and sorrows too, but all of us who see the light will feel the peace anew. In this season I'll embrace whatever's thrown at me, because this season I'll become the me I'm meant to be. A toast to all of our years. To love and to life and to all of our years of creating reality through laughter and tears. To this spiritual being that's living within, a solid illusion through thick and through thin. To this sea of vibration creating the fire, to spark and to act upon burning desire. May the spiritual visions and signs that we find be the gateway and bridge to our unconscious mind. Let's empower this life with wisdom and more to free up the soul and then let it soar. I'll read one more. At home in nature. My home is in nature, so vast, strong, and free, where I've surrounded myself with what matters to me. The wildlife and trees, no matter how small, are part of my psyche. They fill me with awe. Where heavens meet earth with beauty and grace, that's where I'm at home. It's my magical place.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I couldn't help but be very struck by your location and your setting, and your introduction as you were reading from that. I felt like it all just tied in so beautifully. So that was just a wonderful selection. Thank you. Our final reader for today is Anu Koduri. Anu was born and raised in India in a very traditional family. She finished her medical studies in Hyderabad. Called the bookworm by everyone who knew her, she came to Chicago, like scores of her classmates, to join her husband, a doctor, after an arranged marriage. After coming to the US, she realized that the relationship between a couple was unequal in an Indian marriage, and that the woman was supposed to give herself, her aspirations, and her identity to the husband. She lives in Chicago and Hyderabad and has 2 children and 3 grandchildren. She's practiced medicine in both countries and been married for 50 years to her husband, a testament that something worked in their marriage. She trained at Cook County Hospital, which catered to the indigenous population, and then in the private sector, and is still practicing in India. That is how now the germ of the idea of her book was born, Bollywood Romance. It's a poignant exploration of love, cultural expectations, self-identity, and self-discovery. Paru has been haunted by the question, why does Samar not love me since her arranged marriage to him? Brought up sheltered and steeped in Hindu traditions, Paru's single status was seen as a burden by her parents who believed an unmarried woman is a burning stove of coals on your chest. At 23, she must accept Samar to save the family name, even though she loved another. Let's welcome now Anu.
Hi, everybody. I am sorry I missed the first part. Just a little question of timing, Eastern Standard Time versus Central Standard Time. But being here, I'm just so taken in by Sonja as well as Marzia's readings, and I'm so impressed, especially with the poetry. And my book is about this young lady who's brought up behind her mother's sari palav. In other words, she was being not allowed to taste what the outside world is like, or so the mother thinks. But the reality is that Parul is an educated woman, and she has read all her mother's novels, including uh, Lady Chatterley's Lover, and she knew part of the what the outside world is. And a reference to Bollywood, everybody in India thinks that their life is going to be like a Bollywood romance. That's what they look up to. They think that, there is this handsome young man who will probably come on a horse and whisk them away, and they live happily ever after. And hardly so. So they are totally unaware of the realities of life, even though they are highly educated. The parents make sure that they are not too worldly wise. And that becomes a problem, especially when they cross the countries and come into another country. And as I said in my dedication of this book is dedicated to all those women who knew their husbands for maybe 2 days, maybe a week, and then traveled 10,000 miles alone to set up home and family here. And it's a new world for them, and still they have to roll with the punches, and they establish lives here. Some make it, some don't. When the people don't make it, do they make bold choices or not? Or are they bogged down by the culture, the centuries old cultural baggage, is what we have addressed in this book. And so I will start off with the second chapter. We know that Parul thinks she is in love with Harsha, who is her classmate, and she is describing the Diwali day. Diwali is a very, very famous holiday for the Hindus. It's a festival of light. I stood in a beautiful garden filled with flowers. Harsha was gazing passionately into my eyes. His strong hands were on my shoulders, pulling me into an embrace. My body tingled with pleasurable sensations. He was saying he loved me. Suddenly, someone shook me awake. Not Harsha, my mother. I cannot believe you're still in bed. My God. Amma shook her head in disgust. Sleeping this late on Diwali day? Oh, Amma, can't you wait for 10 minutes? I pleaded. No, get up and get ready, she commanded, pulling my blanket away. Amma was always in a hurry. A prominent lawyer, well known for her eloquence and temper, she conformed to tradition and observed all the holidays in the true Hindu Brahmin fashion, even though it was a lot of work for her. Lady Chatterley's lover fell from the covers. Amma's eyes narrowed. Why are you reading this book? Have you no sense? She hissed. We are looking for matches for you. They will think you are a whore. She snatched up the book and, muttering to herself about what she had done to deserve such an ungrateful child. As she left me to dress, she turned and said in a softer tone, you can read these books like this after you are married. Now get up. She marched down the corridor to Vivek's room. Only Vivek is Paru's brother. She has two brothers, one who could do no wrong and one who, that is Vivek. No, I'm sorry, that is Karan, and the second who could do nothing right. She marched down the corridor to Vivek's room. Only useless, good for nothing guys like you sleep like this, I heard her say to my brother. Get up right now. I couldn't help thinking that if it were Karan, the oldest of us she was talking to, Amma would have been all lovey-dovey. My mother doted on my elder brother. It would be ayoyo. Ayoyo is a very, very common Indian, occurrence. Let the boy sleep. The poor fellow worked so hard. Karan was the apple of her eye, her firstborn, who could do no wrong. Vivek, the middle child, could do nothing right. Maybe it was partly because Karan went away to a prestigious school at age 16 and she always missed him. Amma treated Vivek with dislike and maybe fear. I wondered as I set my room straight, even now that Vivek was in his 20s and about to graduate medical college, she held only anger he held only anger and contempt for our mother. Their relationship was like dynamite, volatile, and even at times explosive. I turned to the window. I lived in a modest corner house with a terrace and 3 rooms upstairs. It was cozy in the morning with Amma's strong coffee made and served in the South Indian way in a small steel glass resting in a small steel bowl. I sipped mine with a thrill of pleasure. Today was Diwali, the festival of lights, a day to be thankful for good fortune, which was plenty in my case. As the only girl in our household, according to tradition, I was Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. I glanced at the statue of the goddess of wealth sitting on a lotus and wearing beautiful clothes and jewelry, her palm open and golden coins falling from her hand. Despite my highly scientific medical education, a kind of suspended disbelief in the avatars and the magical powers of the gods and goddesses persisted from childhood. The morning air held a chill as I peeked out at the street. The rich stayed in with their sweaters on, while the poor hurried to work with scarves covering their heads and chests. Some used gunny sacks cut to fit their heads and backs. Then their feet were down with joy. Some were already making plenty of noise in our upper middle class Hyderabad neighborhood. I wish time would freeze on this beautiful morning. I loved the city of Nawabs and pearls and the Kohinoor diamond. Everybody knew each other and looked out for one another. The road looked wider because all the bandiwalas, the hawkers, had taken the day off and the shops were yet to open. They sold everything from vegetables to roasted peanuts to cooked sweets to colored water with sugar, which fascinated the children. A double hibiscus had bloomed in our front yard garden along with jasmine and marigold. Beautiful. I waved at an auntie as I knew went by. Firecrackers exploded, and joyous shouts of Happy Diwali filled the streets. Everybody exchanged sweets, jalebis, rasmalai, and gulab jamuns. And and 30 minutes, and then Parul undergoes what is called a ritual bath, which is given to all the Indian women of marriageable age. And she went downstairs, brushed my teeth at the common wash basin, and went to have a sacred bath, a terror every middle class Indian girl endured. The water was ready for me, steaming in the massive, gleaming copper vessel called the boiler, as we used to heat it. I sat on the bench. Our servant, Buchamma, who was like my second mother, applied oil to my hair and turmeric and almond and to exfoliate my skin with chickpea flour. Buchama was skinny, tall, and pockmarked from contracting smallpox as a child, and she was very hard of hearing and communicated with signs. 30 minutes later, I came out pink as a lobster, Buchama's pride and joy. I lay down on a cot made of a net of ropes, and below it, they burned some incense to dry my hair. I escaped to my room, grateful I did not have to undergo such a lengthy grooming process daily. I would never get to school, but I would have fragrant hair, I sniggered to myself. I remembered Amma's stinging rebuke when she discovered the D.H. Lawrence book in my bed. A whore? How could she? Especially when she owned risque books like Nabokov's Lolita and Maupassant's Necklace and Emile Zola's Nana. Were those tales what made Amma flirt with Nana's friend Seshu? I pushed away a dark memory of Seshu uncle staring openly at Amma's ample bosom and cleavage when she handed him coffee, and the way Amma seemed to appreciate the attention instead of being repulsed by it. I imagine that for most men it was difficult not to be attracted by my mother. She was short, curvy, fair, and had curly hair. She had a pretty face and an ample bosom. A lawyer in the High Court, she also had a high intellect and a tongue to match. And she was an indomitable flirt when she wanted to be. Amma loved and protected me, and it was wrong of me to think badly about her. So I put my troubling questions aside and turned my attention to the peach-colored sari with gold trim she had bought me. I wished Harsha could see me in this sari. I brushed my thick curly hair and braided it. It fell to my hips. I lined my eyes with kohl and placed the buttu between my eyebrows. I stole a look at the mirror to make sure I would get Harsha's approval. How thrilling it would be if he asked me to marry him. Last week, I overheard Amma boasting to some of the other ladies in the temple that even though I was 22 and would graduate medical school next year, I was a child who had grown up behind the veil of her sari. She didn't know that I had parted the veil and glimpsed the real world. She did, and I recalled some passages from D.H. Lawrence's book, but didn't feel excited by them. But the memory of Harsha's touch on my arm, or when he held my hand in a movie, or his presence next to me as we walked together to class, that was electric. So, Paru, in this chapter, in the end, she goes to collect some flowers, and she goes to her neighbor's garden. So Amma asks Paru to go and collect some flowers, and as I was about to leave, she called me back. She held salt and red chilies in her hand, which she moved around my body, and she told me to spit into the salt and turn away and go about my tasks. All this was to ward off the evil eye. I rolled my eyes. I made the family room and the visiting room presentable, and I found a letter from my older brother, Karan, who was in USA, and I put it by the side of my father, who was praying at that time. And then I went out to the veranda, decorated with mango leaves and marigolds, and surveyed the garden. I checked out the rangoli Buchama had drawn in front of the house. Everything was in order. I picked jasmine, hibiscus, chrysanthemums, and then went to my neighbor Sujata's garden. We joined our own without any wall or fence separating the yards. When I rang the doorbell, Bhaskar, auntie's son, opened the door. 4 years older than I, Bhaskar was a pimply, pudgy, dark young man with thick hair, bulging eyes, and an eyebrow that ran the length of his entire forehead. As he drank me in from head to foot, suddenly I wished I wasn't looking quite so pretty in my new sari. Bhaskar smiled as he leaned against the door. You come to see me? He wasn't fluent in English like I was. I was educated at a convent school where the nuns made sure that our clothes were tidy and that we exclusively spoke English. Otherwise, we would be caned. A lot of people, including Bhaskar's family, could not afford these schools. They went to schools that taught in the vernacular. And then she takes permission from his mother to pluck some flowers. And Sujata auntie came to the door. Her skin was the color of caramel. Her beautiful features were highlighted by her diamond nose ring and welcoming smile. Paru, you keep getting prettier and prettier, she exclaimed. I guess that happens around this age. She pinched my cheek while Bhaskar grinned his agreement. I went into the garden to pick roses for Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, to whom the puja would be offered. The vines hung heavy with clusters of blooms. I reached up and I was about to pluck one when Bhaskar's hand came down over mine. The stench of his sweat overpowered the sweet perfume of the roses. You prettier than those roses. I picked them for you, he said in broken English in a heavy voice. I cannot see your delicate hands to be hurt. My hand was trapped under his sweaty palm. 2 men had touched me in the last 2 days. Harsha's touch excited me. I had tucked it away in my heart, but this one repulsed me. I am calling your mom, I growled. Let go of me. And then she carries the flowers back to her home, and she hears a loud Lord Rama, no, coming from her father, and she rushes in and she finds a letter from her brother Karan. And dear mother and father, I beg your forgiveness. I just became a father. I married an American girl named Elaine and did not dare tell you. I named our newborn son Krishna per our tradition. Please forgive me and send mother to see the grandchild. Your loving son, Karan. I inspected the pictures. There was my brother in a suit and a white lady in a fancy white dress holding a bouquet of flowers. Both of them wore bright smiles. In the other photo, Karan gazed at his newborn son, who was staring back at him. The infant was adorable with his crinkled face. My nephew, I felt a surprising surge of affection for the baby. The news was hot on the lips of our neighbors, but I had a more immediate problem. My parents, they were shattered and silent. Amma still on the ground, and Nana hunched in a chair. Vivek looked tormented and uncertain and suddenly got up and left. And we had a visitor, Seshu, who was my father's friend, and he comes in to tell them that they are going to have a meeting among the Brahmin community. So when the community elders gathered on our back porch, I acted as if I had seen nothing. My family descended from a lineage endowed with great intellect and strict observance of the Brahminic rites, which included things like no smoking, no drinking, no polygamy, and so on. Members had to marry within their sect. The other elders had flouted these rules, but as had their progeny. Blatant violations were ignored, but my parents were staunch believers and observed the rules. My brother Karan had defied and shamed them. So the head of the elder group asks the group whether they would agree for the marriage of the older son to the foreigner, and they say no. And so Mr. Ramakrishna Sastri, who is the head of this clan, sat beside my father and touched his knee. My father looked at the leader pitifully. He knew what was coming. He started by asking whether it was true that Karan had married a Mlecha, which means a foreigner. Yes, Nana's one-word answer in a low voice with so much shame that I winced. Sastri, you have a lovely family and you have a daughter to still get married. You need to do this. You need to break your connection to your son. Please say no, Amma pleaded with him, her hands clenched into fists. She was seated at his feet. Her eyes were red and haunted. I watched my father closely. He had once told me that the community had wanted to throw him out because he let my mother study to be a lawyer. And eventually, what happens during the meeting is they they throw them out of the community of Brahmins. That's what happened in this chapter. And in the meantime, Vivek returns with his bride, who is also not belonging to the same clan, same Brahminic clan as them. And so after that, Paru's idea of getting married to her boyfriend were getting slimmer and slimmer. And so she is, however,
Anu, I want to cut in because I want to make sure we have time for our Q&A, but I do want to say thank you so much for that
oh,
reading,
you're
and
very welcome. I'm
especially,
sorry, I hope it wasn't boring.
no, it's all good. It's actually, I also commented on this in Marzia's reading because there was also just so many beautiful visuals in that reading. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
So we do have time now for our audience Q&A. So for anyone who has a question for one or more of our authors, you can go ahead and type those in the chat and I'll make sure they get asked. We do have a question to start the authors off. This one came in and says, was there a particular scene or poem that was especially interesting for you to write? I'm thinking we could start by going in reading order. So Marzia, do you want to start us off with this one?
A particular scene. I really love chapter 2 in my book. And it is a meeting that Leonie has with Hridaya. Hridaya is a blind fortune teller. And that is a scene that I really enjoyed writing. And that really was inspired by some of the some life moments that happened to me personally. I went through a few dark rabbit holes on the health side of things. And so through Hridaya, I talk about this idea of there being light in the dark and of light and dark not being two opposing forces. And because he is blind and he is a fortune teller, he actually has vision and he sees with the heart. And so that is a scene that is particularly close to me and that I feel has actually resonated with a lot of readers.
Yeah, I can imagine, I mean, I know it's hard to pick, right? But there's these really meaningful, it sounds like, passages that really resonated with you as you were writing them. So I think that just adds that extra layer of connection to it. Sonia, what about you? A poem that was especially interesting for you to write? Oh, Sonia, I think you're still muted.
Sorry. Okay. One poem that's really close to my heart is one that I wrote for my sister. It's called To My Sister Nancy. I didn't read it at this point, but it's out there in the book. And she was battling cancer for about 10 years. And I wrote this poem for her. And I was able to listen to it. Her husband read it to her every night for quite a few nights while she was going through her chemo and going through just the end of life. And is something that at the very end of it, it says, may every new adventure be like traveling as a feather on a wing. And it talks about a feather that I found on the ground that fell off a bird and must have traveled around the whole wide world. So it just gave imagination to the next stage of life without all the fear and without all the anxiety that is sometimes felt. So
Yeah, again, I think, there's just that personal draw and connection in it. And I can only imagine, especially for a poet, it's like this deeper, perhaps maybe I'm over romanticizing it, but I can see how that would play out. Anu, what about you? Was there a particular scene in the book that was especially interesting for you to write?
Yes. Once she files for divorce from her husband, Paru, her brothers are trying to get her back to him. And she thinks they're trying to push me back into the same hole that I climbed out of. And so she doesn't know that what they have planned, and she's very happy that they thought about her. And she goes to her brother's house only to find that her husband and her first brother are there. And they all converge upon her to say that, oh no, you can't do this. You can't, this is not for the family's good, quote unquote. And so she fights back, and they try to physically restrain her. And then she has a good friend in her sister-in-law, and she fights back and she tells them that if you hold me here, my sister-in-law will call the police. And she reaches that point at which she frees herself from her tormentors, which included her brothers. And that was a very, very interesting thing to write because I am extremely close to my brothers. And putting them in that kind of a position was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like pushing you and these other kind of people out of their comfort zone in a literary sense, which is always a challenge, but I think can lead to these really great, tense, and dramatic moments. Anu, we have another question for you. This is from Amala. How did you come up with Samar's character and dowry, love from India?
This is a If you are Indian, then you know that dowry, especially, I don't know about North India, but South India, dowry is a common evil. You know, dowry is banned by the government of India, and yet you see the lakhs and crores of money, exchanging hands at the time of marriage because they feel that a girl child is a burden. If they don't kill her inside the womb, they just don't want to be known as a family with a child, with a female who is not married. And so they're willing to pay any kind of money to go ahead and, even if the person is not acceptable to the girl, they will go ahead with the marriage. And so as a gynecologist, I am a urogynecologist, started off as a gynecologist, and I had the privilege to practice both here and also at home. And I have heard horror stories from educated women who were married to Indian men, Indian women. And this is like a collation of their experiences. And some of it mine, some of it theirs. And that is what prompted me to write this book in the first place, as to why do the Indian women put up with it?
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's this cultural difference, and I can see, there's this like real significance to it. So thank you for explaining that too. We have just one more question. This is again for all three authors. If your readers take away just one feeling or idea from your book, what do you hope it is? Sonia, do you want to start us off this time?
Perfect. Okay. I hope that people who read my book will realize that they have the empowerment within themselves. They do not need to look outside themselves for personal empowerment or personal achievement because it's all inside.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful thing to leave a book with. So that sounds beautiful to me. Anu, what about you? What's one thing that you hope readers take away from your book?
Courage, especially, it's important for every female to realize that she has to look after herself emotionally, financially, and every way at all times, and not put her interests behind the interests of her children or her husband. I'm not saying that you should abandon your family, but a part of you should always take care of yourself. And that because nobody else is. In other words, you're number one in the family, and there is nobody taking care of number one.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
you
it
are it.
feels selfish sometimes, but you have to, right? And I think
It
that's such an
feels
important
selfish,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
But if you grow
And
old without doing that, then it's a huge problem. Sorry.
yeah, you'll regret it. I think that's a great thing to be able to take away from a Bollywood romance. And Marzia, closing us out, is there one feeling or idea you hope readers take away from your book? And I also want to add, Marzia, if this ties in, there's a question also in the chat for you. Was there a personal leap in your own life that shaped this story?
Okay. It's hard to pinpoint one message, but if I really were to choose one, it's this idea that we are held, that we are truly held no matter what happens in or around us, that we have the capacity to be with anything, to be with everything, that we can trust the inner leap, trust the inner dive, and that there is safety in that. There is safety in that because grace is here. And if we make ourselves a target to that grace by leaning inward, then all kinds of insights, magic, and revelations just show up without us needing to really push for anything, effort, struggle. We are taught that, the answers lie outside, but beyond any practice, method, teaching, and there are some great and wonderful practices, methods, and teachings out there. Beyond all that, the simplicity of returning to the heart, and seeing things for what they are beyond the veils of conditioning, seeing things by truly touching and connecting with what is real inside us makes the whole difference.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I'm so glad to kind of leave off on that sentiment because it's such a beautiful way to wrap all of this up. So I do also want to say thank you so much to all three of our authors for sharing these works with us. So Anu, Marzia, Sonja, just being generous with your time and words is so meaningful. And thank you to everybody in the audience for tuning in as well. I do want to remind you that you can order A Bollywood Romance, Leonie's Leap, A Liberation Journey, and Bookends of Life from the links in the chat. I'm just going to put those all in there one more time for you so they're easily accessible. Please also consider checking out atmospherepress.com, where you can browse our new and forthcoming releases, sign up for our email newsletter, or submit a book manuscript of your own. You can submit your work to books@atmospherepress.com and just let us know that you attended today's event. Until that's it for today. So have a great rest of your week, everybody. Thank you so much again for attending, and we look forward to hearing from you.